3. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Direct Selling Executives Forum Open Panel for September 2022. My name is Ben Dixon, your host, and I'm just honored, grateful, and excited to have the executives that we have here on the line with us today to share with you. If you're brand new to the DSEF, these panels are not to sell anything. They're literally a space where different direct selling executives volunteer their time to come together and discuss certain topics that are relevant to all of us inside of direct sales. And I just feel honored to host this, and I'm so grateful for Olivia, Joe, and Maurice to volunteer their time and come out of all their launch mode craziness. For a couple of you are some really busy seasons. I'm like Maurice, you probably haven't slept at all this week. Thanks for being here today. And just for sharing this hour with us today. We have folks on the line so far from Mexico, Europe, and California, right? Because in America, we just pick states instead of saying the country. But we're grateful to have you here. If you are just joining us for the first time and you haven't yet joined the group on LinkedIn or the group on Facebook where you can get access to all the replays and all the previous speakers of the DSEF, do make sure you do that. If you search for Direct Selling Executives Forum on LinkedIn or Facebook, it'll pop right up on top. Apply to join. It's absolutely free, and you can start being a part of the community and just contributing here. So as we get started today, before jumping into our first questions, let me walk us through some intros. I'm going to go through all three real quick for time, and then we'll jump right into questions. But I'm just honored first off to have Joe Kenemore come back to speak again. You're our only speaker who's come back. You're our second speaker to ever get to speak twice at DSEF. So we're pumped to have Joe back. Twofer. And in fairness, Joe was on a summary call the first time he got to come. So it was one of our broad for the year calls, not a topic centered panel. And so this was just a perfect panel. And Joe's background, gang, Joe is not only a top executive at Send Out Cards in their birth and beginning when they were first being the first direct sales company to help with communication tools, but he's the founder of Cash Media Works. And if you're familiar with Cash at all, you'll know brands like Eric Worre's Network Marketing Pro was birthed out of Cash. Like if you look at that brand that's on millions and millions of dollars generically training our space for years, who created all their events and their branding and all their messaging? He's here on the line. So Joe did that. He's pretty private about that, but I like to, hey guys, Joe had a big part to doing that. And Joe moved on. He still runs Cash, but started a direct selling company called Banner Season to improve on what he had learned at Send Out Cards as a new way to message to others, and then transferred Banner Season into what today is called Mailbox Power. And if you haven't yet checked out Mailbox Power, go check it out. As a referral marketing program, Mailbox Power allows you to touch people in special ways that are way better than an email. All right. And so, Joe, thank you so much for being here today. Yeah.
Love it.
All right. Next, Livia Fisher Kane. Oh my gosh, Livia Fisher Kane. I got the opportunity to have some breakfast with Livia in Minneapolis this last weekend with her son, Phoenix. Was awesome to get a time to disconnect. That guy is going to change the world. He's 12 years old and is already just way ahead. He's speaking on stage with us all at a big event, and it's like, this guy, it was awesome. Livia, also very humble leader. If you've heard of the brand, the UFC, if you guys watch that on TV with your friends, yeah, Livia had a lot to do. You can see the pictures behind her, but with creating that brand from the beginning, and has moved those gifts into serving referral marketing companies. And today is the acting CMO of one of the fastest growing trading companies in the space, Driven Trading. They have the top 1% of all TD Ameritrade traders as their traders on there. They do amazing work. And Livia is their CMO. So Livia, thank you so much for being here today. All right.
Thank you for having me here. It's great to share the space with you guys, and I'm actually very excited to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. We all are. I think we all are like taking copious notes in these sessions. I feel that way too. We always come away from like, wow, I learned a lot just participating on the panel. Maurice, I ran into Maurice Katz years ago, and Maurice he's literally been a distributor in the field. He's taken his own companies public before. And when I met Maurice, some of you have run into that where you have like that earner in your field, the person who's good at building a network, but they're also like, man, the company didn't build enough content, so I'll make good content. He was the guy pumping out great content that everybody in the company was using for the different groups he was promoting when I first ran into Maurice. And I love that. And today, Maurice is an executive at an FX startup that actually just got picked up by Longevity. So he's working with Longevity's FX division and is doing just amazing work in the space. So Maurice, thank you so much for joining us here today. Good to
Thank you
have
so
on.
much, Ben. It's such a pleasure. And you've always been such an amazing person in the space and the value that you've always given. So I'm honored to be here.
Oh, well, thanks for coming out. All right, we're going to kick off our first question. We only have 4 today, so we're going to be good in this time. We're going to have Joe pick up our first one. All right, so the first one we're going to grab as we talk about creating compelling content in referral marketing here in this space today is, what's your favorite piece of viral content you've ever come across to promote any brand? So what's it been for you, Joe?
All right. So listen, I want to warn everybody, I'm an early adopter of technology. So way back in the day, there was a viral video. It was literally a 30-second commercial that was played on European TV, and they ended up putting it on the internet.
On the YouTube.
YouTube. It hit YouTube. And I got to tell you, it was it's still one of the funniest videos I've ever seen to this day. And it was about dating and a phone, right? It was a telecom company. And I'm going to admit a few things. I like kind of fun humor. Gal gets in the car. As he opens the door, the date, it's on a date, and he's walking to the car from the front door. Gal gets in the car. He closes the door. As he's walking around, she passes gas pretty loudly. All right.
I've seen this clip.
Okay, you may have, and anyway,
he
gets in the car, and and there's somebody in the back seat. She has no idea there were people in the back seat as she's passed gas. And anyway, a super funny video that actually really went viral. You've seen it, I'm sure.
Oh my gosh.
Have. And I just stopped to think about it. I'm a video guy, right? I mean, I've produced more video content in my lifetime than anything else. So I kind of looked at it and just went, wow. 30 seconds. They grabbed the attention of every single soul that watched it, right? Because I mean, we're all human. Stuff happens, right? And stuff happens at inappropriate times as well. And for that kind of a piece to come out where it turns comical, and the brand at the end, we all hung out long enough to know exactly who it was and what it was about. And it's like, wow, check that out. Anyway, that's for me. That's as far as promoting a brand, promoting a brand, that was about my favorite piece. There's some others out there as well that are really good, but that it grabbed attention all the way to the end, not just for 5 seconds or 3 seconds, but the complete piece. Enough where you went, wow, okay, that's who this was about. Too good, love it.
It was that relevant experience of like awkwardness that makes you want to share it with your friends, right?
Absolutely.
Like no matter who you are, whether or not you're going to subscribe to their service, you're going to share that video with their friends. It's perfect for pre-social media. Love it. Yeah. Livia, what's been your favorite piece of content you've came up with? You said like, oh my gosh, that was incredible.
Right. So I mean, I'm pretty much the opposite. I don't really have that great of a sense of humor. And I'm not proud of it, those things, just who I am. What can I say about that? So I mean, content for me, right? Like, so I'll tell you one of the biggest, the content that I produced that made a huge difference. I'll put it that way. And I know because it's going to be very different, right? And we're here to show different examples, right? Yep. So when I first joined the UFC, we're going to launch UFC Real. And, when I came in, obviously you have all these Emmy winners, you have all these big time producers, you have this, fancy roster of executives, to work with. And, and they're going very certain in the direction, that they have decided, and I take on, the whole YouTube part for launching the UFC Rio. And I said, okay, I'm going to go to Rio. I'm Brazilian. I'm from Rio. I know the culture very well. So, okay, I'm going to go to Rio. And they're like, okay, so you interview the 4 top guys, right? The 2 top fights. And these are the questions. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go. But I'm going to interview all 20 fighters in the card, and I'm not going to ask these questions. Okay, fine, right? Let's go, right? Like, I have people saying like, you're stepping in a lot of people's toes. I'm like, well, one day at a time. and I go there and I shoot with all 20 fighters. And at the very bottom of the card, so the first fight of the night, right? Nobody knows who those people are. Most people didn't even tune in the TV, right? we had this guy that his life story was incredible, right? So he was like his first fight in the UFC. He is from Rio. And I knew that, you know, for the UFC to go mainstream in Rio, and I've been already working with that. I shot a documentary about that. It was really the culture in Brazil didn't accept mixed martial arts. It was like a, you know, a street fighting thing. And you have to flip that page, and it was a hard job to do, right? But these guys, the stories, these people, right, these fighters, they're just so relatable, right? The stories are incredible. And one of them, Josemar Palhares, the guy I interviewed, right, has this one of 13 kids. Most of them didn't survive, right? Like he migrates to Rio, and, you know, has these stories of like actual hunger and pain, and like working in a farm since he was 7 years old, like having to share a loaf of bread between him and his 13 brothers, and his mom's keeping that meal. And I knew I had to tell those stories, right? So one, it was the fact that, you know, I sit with these guys and these fighters and these athletes, and you know, prepare them to the interview. Most of them don't want to tell these stories, right? And they're like, I don't really want to tell this. And I'm like, well, but you know, what about all these kids, right? What about all the youth that is right now where you were at, right? Can you tell to them? It's like, yes, I can do that. So we shoot, right? And out of the 20 videos, this one video went viral, right? It not only went viral in social media, oh, and the UFC is like, the most you can do is 2 minutes. This video is 9 minutes. And I'm like, okay, I send it in, and with the email that I send it in, I'm like, I'm not cutting. Okay, so before they even saw it, they knew I would not cut this one. They took it, we published it, went viral. But not only went viral, all the TV stations in Brazil picked up this video. And, you know, so it was going mainstream, prime, you know, TV, all of it, right? And, you know, and so this was the piece of content. This was one that people knew me for right off the bat, going into the UFC. And not only, right, of course, we turned the page. We made the UFC Rio was one of the most successful events in the UFC history. We sold out the whole arena in 55 minutes. But not only that, coming back from Rio, right? We're getting on a call with the UFC, and they're saying, not only your videos surpassed their entire $1 million campaign over here, but the best part was that they're like, and that kid, Josemar, we need him in the main card. And his contract multiplied. And, you know, he went from the very first fight to the main card. And so anyway, so it was like building culture, right? It was building culture, and was just like understanding the culture and you know, above the trend, culture above trend kind of thing, you know, and then that was my one that I wanted to mention.
Gang, you gotta hear when you're understanding what Livia is sharing, the pattern she just shared in content is called the hero's journey. And you need to write that down. If you want to understand the power, right? You're like, why did a 9-minute video captivate people and keep their attention and entertain and pull their heart? It was the hero's journey. So it was the struggle that was relatable, the challenge that connected with the audience, and then the rise, the phoenix rising from the ashes. That's called the hero's journey. And when you're thinking of your type of content that fits your culture, there's all sorts of flavors of viral shareable content. You know, Joe opened up with humor, right? Humor's huge today. We see stuff like Harmon Brothers and everything else in the space today, or the folks, you know, there's I could grab just a couple different ones, but if you look at ads from Kizix or Chatbooks or DollarShaveClub.com and all these, and the Poopin' Unicorns, right, with Squatty Potty, all these campaigns, right, that have built entire brands on YouTube, right, chose humor inside of a path. And then there's other brands though that we could go down that same list that used the hero's journey to tell their story. And that's what Livia just unpacked for us, gang. And you gotta hear that as like, oh, is that the way to tell our story? Because I know some people on this line, and you think like content, when you hear humor and you think like, does it all have to be humor? Is humor the only path? It's like, well, humor's really fun. I like humor, but no, there's actually brands where like they don't use humor at all and they still go viral with incredibly emotional stuff. There's a bunch of Asian ads actually for Asian life insurance companies of all things. You can look up that have gone incredibly viral that are stories about little kids running to the grocery store and coming back with no words. Like first, like just open up your mind of what's possible as we walk through this today. Just thank you, Livia, for sharing that. That was awesome. And what a way you impacted that young man's life by challenging him to open up. Like, that's incredible. I love to hear that. Maurice, for you, what's been your favorite piece of viral content when you peel back the onion and think about it? You've seen a lot of stuff over the years.
Yeah, I've seen a lot. And I would say that it may not be the most viral content, but it kind of hits to home because it's somebody that I know very personally. And I remember when they were talking about creating content like this. And so we were in a hotel room hanging out, and it's a friend of mine his name is Chris Record. You may know him, obviously, Ben.
I know Chris. I know Chris well. Yeah.
Yes. So what ended up happening is he's like, look, I want to start like doing videos with rap. And he's not, that's what he wanted to do. He's like, look, I want to start rapping on videos. I just want to have fun. And so I was like, oh, that's cool. And my brother, he does rap. So they were kind of like doing, freestyle in the hotel room. And I'm bringing this up because it's personal and it's pretty cool how things develop. So he's talking about doing this whole rap thing. And then about 6 months later, he starts putting content online of him rapping these different songs. And where it caught my attention was, it was during the time of 2017, 2018, when the cryptocurrency was a craze, just like it is in 2021, 2022. It's kind of settled down right now. But what he did that was so genius is that there was a term called HODL. And HODL means to hold on for dear life. HOLD. Hold on for dear life to the coins that you believe can potentially go up in values, right? Yeah. So as the coins are going up and down, the whole premise is like, don't sell your coins because you don't want to risk it going up and then you missed out. So there was a whole terminology that came out that was called HODL. And so he created a video that was a music video called HODL Gang. And it got so much attention that, at first I was like, oh, it's kind of cheesy. I thought a lot of his videos were cheesy, but this specific one got the most amount of views, went the most viral, and ended up on Tosh 2.0. So Tosh was actually commenting on this video and making fun of it, but yet it still went viral. Now you're taking it from YouTube, and it ended up on another third-party show. It also ended up on the news. I saw it one time on the news and they were referencing it. They're like, oh yeah, this. So what happened was a simple video that was on YouTube ended up getting on the news, as well as on a show that they make fun of videos, Tosh 2.0. And to think that it was all from a simple idea in a hotel room. But the biggest powerful thing that he did what's called bridge marketing. Right. Yeah. So you take something in a terminology, or you take something that's trending very hard, which at the time, crypto was trending very hard, the terminology, cryptocurrency and everything. And so all he did was take that, run with it. And he did it. It was amazing. So for me, it wasn't the most viral video, but because I knew him and I saw it on the news, and I was surprised that it actually made the news as well as Tosh 2.0. It was a cool experience.
It's so wonderful. I've had the blessing. I've known Chris now for, I sound old, 16 years. Okay. Yeah. Chris and I actually used to live in the same house before I was married. So we actually had a home together in California. So Chris and I owned the company I owned before running NaXum. Chris was a co-owner in that company. So I know Chris quite well. And what's funny is he would write raps all the time about everything. And you never know which one would hit. But what was great was you talk about bridge marketing, he would write it to an influencer as like love to them, so that they would then promote it out to the world. So a good example, we all know, so the internet marketer, Russell with ClickBank is just a good example. Joe, that whole group. So Chris also made the ClickBank rap video, or the ClickFunnels rap video. So he literally made a video about them, and here's Russell sharing it with his millions of followers. Like, look at this funny guy who made a video about our software. So he didn't ask their permission to make a video about their software. He just made it, and then that huge community became liking him on YouTube from that. And that originally started because Chris was he was the brand manager for Beachbody's Tony Horton. So the man who's created P90X. And so it all came out of managing Tony's online brand and realizing how these partnerships worked. And that's where Chris got to over the years, and wish him all the best. And so it is really cool to see that. And the cool part about the HODL Gang and bridge marketing is there is these trending relevant things going on all the time. And so instead of creating demand for what you have, many times it's just stepping into where demand already is. There's a young group of young video producers. I'm talking about these guys haven't even made more than 5 commercial videos that I met at a networking event last week. They took the All American Rejects song, All the Small Things, and redid it to all the listings and made a video for a local realtor, and went completely viral in our town. 300,000 views on Facebook in a week. Brand new one, because they just went shot for shot with a famous music video from the early 2000s with changing the lyrics to this guy talking about being a realtor. And it was that funny and that silly that a gazillion realtors were all liking and sharing, and people are sending to their friend who's a realtor. And this young realtor is now getting all this traction and following. So it's a powerful thought to think about. So you heard humor, you heard about creating those relatable stories that cause people to want to share your story with Joe. You heard the hero's journey with Livia and how that captivates your heart and pulls you in to stay longer. Then you heard this idea of bridge marketing, where you create something fun and silly for an existing community, where an existing large community people say, oh my gosh, did you guys see this? That gets your content there. So with that, we're going to go reverse now. We're going to do the whole, like when you're playing a board game, go reverse. We're going right back to you, Maurice. So you get a chance to think about this. Number 2, for executives that are here on the line that desire to create compelling content for their members, right? How would you suggest they start? Like they're on this call because some of them have plans and are already doing things, and some of them aren't, and they want to know how to start empowering their field with content that's shareable and that's going to get results for their business. How would you suggest they start?
I think the biggest thing is knowing who you're going to market to, who you're talking to. The biggest thing is knowing, we always talk about knowing your avatar, right? Mm-hmm. You're the person that is going to listen to your message. Who do you want to hear this, resonate with it? And I think that where the market is going now, specifically in marketing, people talk about, and especially content, NLP and all these different things. But what's happening at this point is people are just looking for someone that is authentic, that's sincere, that really cares about them. And people are seeing past all this high level, copywriting that seems manufactured, that was working 10 years ago, 8 years ago. But now people have seen it so much that they're just like, look, just be honest with me, just be open, be sincere, be transparent, and just, share from your heart. And I think that if you can create content to speak to that individual, and it's not about you, it's not about your product, it's not about the features, that it's all about the benefits that can bless that individual that's seeing that video, seeing that website, seeing that content. And it's coming from a place of authenticity, and it's not coming from a place of trying to convince them about anything, then I think your content will hit home. A lot of times when people look at my content, or they look at, when I'm speaking publicly, the biggest thing that comes off from whatever I produce is they're like, man, I could tell you really care about the people you're talking to. I could tell you're really authentic. You're not just saying something to convince us about anything. And I think right now in the world we live in, I think authenticity is really, really important, especially if it's related to that particular individual that you're trying to attract into your business or your company.
What I love about you shared, if you've read Simon Sinek's book, we do a lot of book recommendations on the panel. Start with Why is a fantastic book, because once you identified, okay, this is our audience of who we want to go to, the way you can come off as authentic is, instead of starting with what you do, start with why you're doing it. There's a viral TED Talk that's got about the golden circle. If you look up Simon Sinek golden circle, it's gone around forever. It's going to be the best 20 minutes of your life, gang. Check it out on YouTube. And right. All right. Yeah. Outside of meeting Jesus, it's the best 20 minutes of your life. And you're going to go ahead and watch this because it's going to change the way you impact people in your life. Okay. With your story. Okay. And so love that, Maurice. Thanks for sharing. Livia, where would you suggest people start?
In-house, maybe in the community, maybe. I think, it's about people that care enough, right? It's about expression, right? It's about like truly being expressive and like going all in with that. For me, that's, it doesn't matter what direction you take in terms of like, no, yes, be strategic with the direction you take. But I'm just saying, from my experience, I've seen so many people going so many different directions, with their marketing. And here's the thing: it is the people that hold the foot back, at all the times, that they're just like, overly cautious about their timelines, right? Like, there's a lot of people that do that, or trying to stay inside a square where your entire audience lives outside of it. It's that kind of thing that I think it's the biggest problem with business marketing today, right? So you have to be bold enough, right? I mean, marketing, for it to be successful, has to be bold enough, right? So it's just that's my main thing. And I think everybody can think of, what they're trying to express, or a powerful message, or being funny, right? Like, it's just like, literally, you don't allow yourself to go there. And you're like, you stay conservative and like, just throw that away, right? Like, for me, for my creatives, especially, people that come from education, I have a lot of people that don't, but a lot of people that come, like, the first module you go through is like, unschool yourself. Because you keep people try to box you in for so long, and your creativity, like, please throw that away before you start working here, right? So, I think that's pretty much my take on it.
It's such a incredible thought, because we all live in this noisy world. It's super noisy, right? We're all seeing messages all day long. So what's going to cut through the noise? It's a great question.
Yeah.
Love hearing that, Livia. Yeah, that's awesome. Joe, I know you got a couple thoughts here.
All right, I do.
Lay it
and
on
Livia,
us, Joe.
I hate being put in a box. Let me tell you what, do not put me in a box, whatever you do, because I will break out of that son of a bitch for sure. All right, I want to speak directly to executives right now. Listen, I want to speak from the 57-year-old white guy. All right. What the hell do I know anymore? Right? What do I know anymore? What I know is that if I create a team and I allow them to be creative and create an environment where I'm not telling them what to do, I'm not putting my thumb on their forehead, I'm asking and collaborating with them, I get the best results ever. That's the deal, is to really lead as an executive. You're not telling anybody, you're collaborating, and you are offering suggestions and ideas, or maybe giving a direction, but not telling them exactly what to do. Who the hell wants to hover over your employees' mouses and do it for them? I don't. I just want collaboration. And I got to tell you, one of the boxes that I was put in that I absolutely loathed was, oh, you're a network marketing company. No, I'm not a network marketing company. That's how I choose to compensate people who sell my product. That's it. That's it. That's what that deal is. And then I moved to an affiliate marketing plan, and, oh, you're an affiliate marketing company. No, I'm not an affiliate marketing plan. Stop putting me in that box again. And really, when it comes to creating this content and compelling content, you have to touch everyone. And a 57-year-old white guy, I'm not touching everyone anymore. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to touch this big of a piece of the audience, right? And then there's this whole other audience out there that needs to be touched. And I can't touch them with just this brain, right? I'm a creative guy all day long. I love creativity. You just let me go. I mean, it haunts me at night for sure. I want to mush ideas together and make stuff happen and make it work and have fun. This idea of not telling, but creating that environment of creativity where people feel empowered and feel like they can actually say anything that comes to their mind without being put down. That, for me as an executive, That is the message I would want anybody to hear, especially younger executives that are just starting to manage. They may feel a little empowered. Their head might have gotten a little bit big. I'm not going to say I've ever been there. Okay, maybe I was just once or twice. But anyway, you know what I'm saying, right? Okay, yeah. So some of us, we get off and a little bit at times, but I've really found, as the years have gone on, it's about empowerment. It's about that collaboration. It's about that creativity and allowing it to, or giving an environment to foster that creativity for everyone to be able to speak without fear of being put down or shamed. There you go. That's what I had. That's it. And then of course,
total gold.
Just get started. If you haven't gotten started yet, turn this thing on and get started, because really that's the bottom line. If you get started, you're probably going to screw it up, and you're going to come back and you're going to go, oh, if I do that, I'm going to do that a little different next time, and next time, and next time, and next time, and eventually you'll perfect where you're headed. Anyway, I'll shut up now. Thank you.
You know what's so great about what Joe's saying, gang, that I think that if you hear Maurice and Joe and Livia, you're going to hear that, like, once you figure out why your company exists, the high level vision stuff, and you've shared that, if you've hired the right people on the team that are aligned with making that why a reality, okay, then you have, now it's time to let them do their job. And one thing that Maurice shared that I think I've seen this a lot in my consulting side of business is that there'll be no one in the room on that team that is the who that Maurice was talking about in his part, right? Hey, who are we actually going after? I've experienced this. I've been in rooms where every executive in the room has, no one's been there less than 25 years. And you're like, 1 second, like, none of you are even our target customer, and you're all here in the room trying to make decisions. And once you define as a leadership team, like, why you exist, you need to then go bring people into that team who actually understand relevantly what's going on in the people's lives who are your consumer, right? If you look at some of these ads that have just knocked it out of the park that are so hilarious, you could dissect the ad for Chatbook, 64 million views off of Facebook. It starts off with a woman in a bathtub, and you think, what is this? And you walk in and the woman's in the bathtub, and all she stands up, she goes, baths, I'm fully clothed. You think I have time for a bath with young kids? And the whole ad's about motherhood and how busy and how hard it is at being a mom. And it's hilarious. She's walking around a room and their kids are booby trapping things, Legos on the floor, all kinds of funny stuff. But dads and moms alike connect with the Chatbooks lady and are relevant and say, oh my gosh, honey, did you see this? So dads are sharing it with wives are sharing it with their other lady friends. They found their audience and knew how to communicate their message. Kizik's, the shoe brand where you don't tie your shoes, you snap your heel in, right? They just did the same thing 2 weeks ago with talking about how hard it is to even take time to bend over and tie your shoe. And they also picked on motherhood of all those things. It was a core theme that connected everyone. It was a mother's life. Opening scenes, a woman stepping on a bunch of Legos, if you haven't seen it. So Legos find their way into a couple of these motherhood ads inside of that. But we could go to Dr. Squash. We could go to the Old Spice Man with how they sell to men, and that the idea that you'll be sexy and you'll attract women if and only if you don't smell horrible is their core hook. They feed on your insecurity of how sweaty you are as a man and want you to smell better to attract beautiful women into your life. So you can go get what you will from those campaigns, but you'll see it, you'll laugh with it, you'll understand it. And simple themes, dollarshaveclub.com. I've seen multiple direct selling clients literally take dollarshaveclub.com's award-winning ad and copy it. I've seen them go like frame for frame, because what it's selling is why buy from the big guy? We're the little guy and we do it better, so give us a chance, is what the message is when you really take it all apart. And it's just such a great ad. When you take it all apart, it's very direct and raw, and it cuts and it brings through this. But if you didn't understand the relevance of who is buying from you, and you didn't have those people in the room on the team to execute, you're not going to make good stuff. That's it. So what you have to hear is be out there and be clear with your vision of who you are, and then go hire people that are a part of that demographic that you're selling to, because that's where you're going to get the right kind of messaging and the right kind of writing to work with your vendors, whether it's in-house or out, or out in-house or out of the house, right, with a vendor. So back to you, Joe. what's your personal process, just strategically planning the content you plan to create to grow Mailbox Power these days? Like when you're down with your team, what is your process after all these years? I'd love to hear that. Yeah. Oh, you're on mute, Joe. Sorry. All right.
Sorry,
let's just hitting the mic.
Let's just assume that we've all figured out who our customer avatar is, where they hang out, where to fish for them, all that stuff,
Sure,
right? That's all done.
Yeah, that's done at this question.
Yeah,
exactly.
that's done.
Yep.
We've passed that, but we've crossed that bridge, right? So now what? And of course, it can be tricky, depending on the type of business you're in. I'm creating content for customers and I'm creating content for my affiliates to use to draw more customers to me. So, there's two sides to this coin. It's like, well, we are the company and we want to represent ourselves in a certain way and we want to communicate certain messaging. We do, currently we have a lunch and learn. And that lunch and learn happens weekly, every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific. It's myself, another executive, and we teach, right? That's what we do. We just teach. We use StreamYard. We push it out to, 7 places at one time, including YouTube. We get good engagement. But then, well, what about something that would come from that content that would be a piece of, an engaging image versus just that video, and really starting to tie everything to kind of a machine, right? It's like, oh, well, 3 weeks from now, we know we're doing this and we need to be creating content ahead of time and getting it into, Hootsuite or whatever you use to plan, for your, your future posts. But I think it's always also just constantly paying attention. Luckily I'm in a business where I get thank yous almost every single day. I send gifts out. People, they thank me often. And a lot of my affiliates, the same thing happens. So why wouldn't we share the most obvious, right? Hey, use our platform, get these kind of thank yous along with referrals and a few other things. And you're a win. So I think there's a couple pieces to it. There is that planning piece, that process, that strategic process, but I think you've got to be able to work on the fly, be quick on your feet, know that something's coming up, you've got a new product, or you're reacting to a competitor, or reacting to the United States Postal Service and how slow they can be at times, right? And light of that and having fun with it. There's all kinds of things that kind of come up where you have to be on the fly, but strategically, it's putting something in place where you actually have that calendar of, events and things that are coming, and we have to work towards, that messaging.
What's so helpful about what Joe just shared, and as we discussed, Kane, and Livia and Maurice, you can ask about Joe's piece too. But what I love about it is for those that aren't very strategic in the content they create, you're just full of vision, you're full of stuff in your heart. Is that Joe's approach is actually very similar to someone like Grant Cardone's approach in the space, gang. What Grant would do, if you're familiar with the top 10 business influencers of the world, and Joe, they both just are like, I'm going to go on live for 2 hours at this time every week, and I'm just going to deliver. And then it's putting a staff member on who's going to go look at that 2 hours of content. And what do we have today? We have Reels, we have TikTok, we have Instagram TV, we have YouTube, we have all the stuff, right? And so many times it's having a gal or guy who's your platform person, just literally watching the live and check, okay, that clip from 4 minutes and 50 seconds in to 7 minutes in, I'm going to recut that as an Instagram TV clip. Okay. Oh my gosh, those things are going to be Reels. Okay, I'm going to mark that. So they're sitting there marking times on a pad of paper, gang. This is the practical, okay? And it's like they're going to take that 2 hours and they're going to cut out 50 little clips from that. Some are going to be Reels, some are going to be 3 minutes long, some are going to be YouTube videos. And it's all these little signposts out there all across social media and all across the web that are going to link back and drive traffic back to the main deal. They're going to be the shareables that are inside of your apps that your affiliates are tapping and sharing in social media, that are the little 7-second or 20-second clips on social that gets their friends off of social media into your landing page. Like that stuff comes from a source, and you have to decide, like, how do we as a company generate that? In addition to what Joe said something about saying thank you. We have a lot of clients who will put a postcard. They'll grab just a physical postcard. They'll put it with their packages when their physical products go out to their customer, and it will say, send us your story, or send us your before and after picture, or send us your video testimony for a chance to win $100 gift card or more product, or whatever that is each month. If you're a company like Beachbody, you give away $1,000 a day to get these. Okay. So think about that for a moment. But with those cards, I've seen a feedback loop of free content, of not just the company creating free content, but of content pouring in from your customers that's coming into stories at yourdomainname.com. And your technical team just sitting there making reels out of that content, making shareables out of that content, because people submitted it for a chance to win a gift card. All right. So here that there's those strategies of just creating places where content just is created, and sometimes we're just missing. All right. Back to you, Livia. What's process and strategy look like over at Driven? Like, how do you guys plan this stuff out? What's the intentionality?
Right. I mean, obviously we're community based, so a lot, everything comes from the community, right? And it's just about directing them. The demographics already there. Obviously, what you said about having the right people obviously is very important. That's why you have a lot in your community, in your audience, and the thing that you said of the cars right on the spot too. When it comes down to the creative team though, like, yes, you definitely don't want that group of lost people in the room. The way I shape that, like I train my team into like, it's deeper than like cultural immersion. We call it the method, because the method of acting. That's my background. Just like you gotta really feel, right? You really gotta go into the bubble, right? But it's not just the bubble of the shallow content that, the first thing you go into a bubble, you're going to get a lot of, shallow content. That is good because you will start understanding a demographic, right? But it's really allowing, a creative team to go deeper, right? To really like immerse themselves, and create a method where they really understand how these people feel, right? Where they're at mentally, right? And if you can train your creative team to do that, right? To really live in there rather than, right, spend 10 minutes looking at, what was trending today. Like that's when you're gonna build a true narrative, right? That's when you're gonna build layers. And that's when you're gonna build a brand that, it's meaningful enough to stand out, kind of thing, right? So that's where, everything that, all of you guys saying is right on the spot, and just making sure that you develop a system, for your creative team to be able to deliver that, for me, is what's very important.
It's really important to hear, gang, about the ideation piece that Livia was just sharing with everyone. Is she's saying you take the time of, you have the idea, and then you go deeper and deeper and deeper into that idea. That actually plays into the algorithms of all the social networks today. If you haven't read it yet, there's the YouTube formula from Daryl Evs. He's one of the first guys who left doing email marketing, ad promotion stuff as his main work in the early 2000s, and YouTube came to do video marketing. He's had the largest crowdfunded campaign ever for video. He produced a show called The Chosen about the life of Jesus through other people's ideas. If you haven't seen it, Daryl was a part of that team. But the YouTube formula talks about how what Reels and what social media and what YouTube wants is what's next. So just a good example of this is if you look up, how to create eggs Benedict, okay, on YouTube. The next video is then going to show you, right, how to make biscuits and gravy or how to make perfect bacon. YouTube's not going to keep you on their website by having 1,000 videos of how else to make eggs Benedict. They're going to then say, what's next for this person? What else would they like? And one of the magic things in your strategy and your content of going deeper, to Livia's perspective, this idea of you get the main concept, is you say like, well, if someone saw like how to make money Forex trading in Livia's niche, right? Well, what's next? It's like daily habits of a trader, right? How to keep your emotions strong when you have a bad day, right? You just go down the list, right? Of like, what would be, if I was going to create a bingeable event of like somebody just being sucked into my content and watching it for 5 hours in a row, because that's what they're doing. It's like, what would be the natural of what's next for that person. And that only comes when you create space for it. So some of the advice I've heard from other executives, to Olivia's point, is getting together. Many of your teams are remote. Sometimes it's going and renting an Airbnb and getting together in a place where you can collaborate, or go renting some studio time where you can have fun and go make some stuff. Sometimes just changing your physical environment can create the space for your team to get those creative juices flowing, and to go deep enough to build a real plan that's something you can execute on. So that was awesome, Livia. Thanks for sharing. Wrapping over to you, Maurice. Personal process. I've never asked Maurice this question. I'm excited myself. What is your personal process for strategically planning the content you guys are creating together? Yeah.
Well, first of all, you got to figure out the content. What is the result that you want the content to produce, right? So you need to know, what is that individual's action? What action do you need them to take based on the content you're producing? Like, meaning that, is this content, am I only looking for them to like a video? Am I looking for them to click through that video to come to a web page? Or is this content a web, to put in an email? Like, all I'm looking to do is get an email on a landing page. Or is this content supposed to close them or obtain a commitment so that they could actually buy your product or get your service? So you start with the end in mind. That's how I start. If you know, my process is like, okay, whatever content I'm looking to produce, what do I want the customer or the person on the other end, what do I want them to do? What do I, so for instance, like an email, somebody say, well, you got to put a headline so you can get them to open the email. And then once they open the email, what are you going to put in the content to make them click through? So I start with that. Then so I'm going to speak from a, especially for if you're a profit for business, right? A business for profit. At the end of the day, you're looking for sales. No matter how much content you produce, how much virality you want to create. At the end of the day, you want customers. You want to create sales. So I focus very heavily on that portion of it. Once the customer comes in, how can we convert them from just a lead to a sale? And that's where I spend most of my content creation, is in that place. So I work a lot with creating a webinar and a PowerPoint that really compels somebody to obtain a commitment that they want to move forward. Or I'll put together a video that video gets them to say, look, I want to move forward with you. And yeah, I want to buy that product. And so once I determine that, then I go, okay, what can I say? And I start now and I say, what can I say that I could say something so engaging, so eye-opening, to where they're like, whoa, like it's something that's got to stand out. Like something like Livia was saying, something very bold, something super bold that almost will get people off guard and say, well, so now you stand out with the content, but then you have to substantiate. If that's like a claim, you have to substantiate that. So you first, you come up with your bullet points or your content that you want to hit these points that are super compelling because it's going to grab their attention. But then you have to have the content to back that up. So you can't say something that you don't have content to back that up. So you do that. And so you create your headline, or you create your opening slide, or you create your opening line in your video that's really going to grab their attention. And then you're going to have a couple other strong openings or strong headlines within your video or within your content, your PowerPoint, that's really going to keep them engaged and keep them wanting more. Keep the content short enough that they want more, but long enough, not too long to where they get burned out and they're clicking off the webinar because it's been too long. So you got to have that beautiful, happy medium. Once you do that, you filled in the middle between those hardcore bullet points that really are going to hold the attention, grab the attention of the people. You want to say the wording in a way that's not like the rest of the people that are in the marketplace. You want to come up with terminologies that no one has said before, right? That you could just make up on your own, because you can define a word that you made up, or define a sentence that doesn't sound like the rest of every other person in that niche has said.
There
so
you
you're going to catch them in a place to where it's like, well, I've never heard this before. Now it's the same thing, but you're just saying it in a different way. But
Totally.
because you're saying it in a different way, you're holding their attention. Versus if you say something that they've already heard, it's a preconceived notion comes up. Oh, I've already heard this already.
Yeah.
So you say things that they've never heard. So I really spend a lot of time like, how can I craft this sentence or this paragraph in a way that they've never heard? They feel like, wow, this is something new. And then whatever claim I make or whatever sounds outrageous, I back it up with proof, whether it's through a testimonial, whether it's through, just research that I can show, like, look, this is what the research has shown. And then towards the end of the content, really connect with them through storytelling, make them understand and feel comfortable where they know, like, look, I know where you've been. I know what it's like to be in your shoes. But let me tell you, if you're willing to partner with us, if you're willing to go ahead and take the plunge for yourself, it's not for us. You always want to make it about them. We're going to have customers. We're going to build our business. But if you could see what we're doing, we're here to really change something in your life and help you. And this is for you. This is for your benefit. So if you're willing to take the risk on yourself and you're willing to move forward, then, hey, we're looking to partner with you. We're going to work as hard for you that you're willing to work for yourself. So if you're not committed to yourself, then we can't commit more to you than you're willing to commit to yourself. And that's kind of like where the end is. And then all I'm doing is basically inviting them to make a commitment. I'm not trying to close them. I'm saying, look, if this seems right, if this is resonating with you right now, and you really feel and you could sense that this is something that is speaking to you, then, go ahead, get started with us. And that's kind of like how I build out my content.
You know what's magic about what Maurice is saying, gang? We haven't talked about handling income claims and product claims and all this stuff. I have seen what Maurice is sharing used in all kinds of companies. I can give some quick examples. And many of you have seen large companies in our space with the 2-day cleanse or the 5-day cleanse or the 7-day cleanse. So instead of making claims about their product or weight loss or pound losses or anything else, they're just like, oh my gosh, here are these amazing stories of the 2-day cleanse. And by calling it the 2 days cleanse, the experience, whatever you name the experience, you can blow up that experience. And then your products are getting that result. Okay, a good example, I have a client named Wealth Space out of the West Coast, just spoke at their event, The Venetian. They sell life insurance. Not that sexy, right, gang? Like, and all of us have the guy at church that's trying to sell us life insurance every day of the friggin' week, right? We all know that person. So if you're international here, gang, on the line in America, lots of rules about selling life insurance, not that sexy. So what did Tom do over there as a content strategy? He created the legacy banking system. What the heck is the legacy banking system? It's nothing. He created it. He invented the words, the legacy banking system. So they invite you to watch videos about the legacy banking system. They invite you to come to dinners about the legacy banking system. And at the legacy banking system, part of living the legacy banking life is having whole life insurance. And so what do you know? They sell life insurance to you when you're steward. And gang, you got to hear that. Like, some of us get so stuck in like what we do where you could create a name that has nothing to do with income claims, has nothing to do with this. Like one program Livia's done, I think is awesome, is they have the alpha training. And like, who doesn't want to be a financial alpha? Like, that's hot, and there's no claims about like the millionaire mastermind. It wasn't about you're going to make $1 million in 1 week. It was just like, come have the mindset of an alpha, and it's like, okay, I want to be an alpha, right? So they've used words that bring an emotion in our life that bring us into this. Gang, we're going to wrap up. We're running right to our time today, which is awesome. But we're going to actually go back to Joe. We're going to give Maurice a second to think about this because he just dropped so much knowledge on us. We're going to start with Joe, Livia, Maurice here. We're going to say, if there was one thing you could rewind the clock, tell yourself 5 years ago about content today, knowing all that you know now, what would you tell yourself? Yeah. Joe's on mute again. It's going to be gold. All right.
I'm good at it. Okay, folks. Geez. All right. Listen, it's really this. If it was just one thing,
yep,
it's create content that you can consistently repurpose. And I'm going to point at one person, one of my favorite and brightest marketers I know, Eric Worre.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, literally 6 years ago, I had no idea why he's asking me to start drawing down time code backstage and have somebody do that of important moments of every single person that spoke on his stage. Well, It didn't take me long to figure it out. It's like, 1 3-hour general session created, 150 pieces of content. It's like, wow, okay, that is a powerful way to, engage with your community and create content that is record it one time, repurpose it, reformat it for everything across the board, every platform. That's it. I mean, really,
love it.
5 years ago, that is it. And it still is relevant to this day. I still see it to this day. what we're doing right now could be repurposed. There are, I didn't deliver much gold, but these two did. And there, there's these little pieces that they delivered that can be taken and bam, I mean, literally a 1-2 minute piece that has value to your customer base. What is it that delivers that value that they just go, wow, I got to have more of that. Anyway, there you go. That's it.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Livia, what would be your one thing if you could rewind 5 years and tell yourself about the future? What would it be?
I mean, the metaverse is coming, right?
Yeah, it's real.
And,
buy Bitcoin. Yeah, 5 years ago, I would have told myself that too. I know.
Right, that's pretty much it, but I'm well positioned, to say the least. So I'm happy, and I think I had it in the back of my head, no matter what, so all good.
That's so true. Amen. I wish we could all see the future, and it's going to be something else next year. It's all there. Maurice, for you, what would be your one thing?
Now, I would say the one thing that I would tell myself from 5 years ago not to worry about is don't beat yourself up when you make something that's not as good as you thought, or you make mistakes. Because what tends to happen is especially if you're a high level producer and you make mistakes, you can really harp on that, and you can really hinder yourself from moving forward, because in the back of your mind, you're like, man, if I would have done this different, the outcome would have been different. And instead of being bothered by it, learn from it. And so there were seasons in my life where I made decisions, whether it was, content or whatever, where I was like, man, I could have really made a better decision. And you've got to learn to let that go. What's already happened has happened. And don't bring what's happened in your past into your present, because it makes no sense, because then you're going to bring it into your future, especially if it was something that you regret doing or you did something wrong or whatever. And I think that's the biggest thing I would tell myself 5 years ago, like, look, just know how to move forward fast, know how to move over a mistake super fast, and just, learn from it, and don't worry about it. Don't hold yourself, and don't beat yourself up to that simple mistake. It's not worth it.
Maurice, I think that's such a powerful thought too, because we have to remember that the market's who votes. At the end of the day, one of the things I love the most about Joe's comment and yours for what you just shared is, and Livia's right, the world's changing, metaverse, it's all changing so fast. When you go create those 150 pieces of content or whatever it is, not all are going to be winners.
Right.
And so when you shotgun those things out, whatever you're doing, make sure you're in a place where you're tracking, right? And because here's what you find out is the real magic isn't the first idea or the second or the third. If you're looking at feedback loops, whatever those are for you, whatever metrics, if it's views or purchases or shares, maybe you even have some of the smart apps in the space where you can see like, oh, these are the contents the reps are willing to share, and now the content they're willing to share, these are the ones actually getting us sales. We do that type of work. I see that type of work in the space right now, and it makes a big difference, because you're seeing, oh, okay, this is the stuff my reps are willing to share, and out of that stuff, this is the ones actually moving people to the front of the sales process. By having a practice like that inside of your process of continually creating lots of content, and then continually looking at what are people willing to share, and what out of their willing to share is working, you can let go of the end result emotionally, right, Maurice, of like needing every single thing of content you touch with your finger to be a home run, because like, hey, I'm just looking for the 10% of this that gets me to the next golden goose, right? And that's what's really healthy, is knowing that your next best piece of content, you're gonna come up with that with the feedback you got from the last round you just did, and that tomorrow's gonna be better than today, in that hope. Powerful. Gang, thank you so much for being here today. We went right up to the minute. This is our longest DSEF forum ever. You guys are fantastic. Our next session will be announced shortly on the LinkedIn groups. If you loved today's event, share it with other executives. This will get transcribed and will be posted back in our LinkedIn group and on the YouTube channel. I just heart full of gratefulness. Livia, thank you so much for just sharing your experience and your heart and everything you've learned with us today. It's awesome to have you. Joe, awesome as always. Keep kicking butt, brother. Love the difference you're making in people's lives. And Maurice, all the best to you and your new venture and this whole new adventure you're on right now. Excited for you and wishing you all the best. Thank you so much, gang, for being here today. Have a wonderful day. We'll talk with you soon. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.